Well, right now on AOA, harvest is still a little ways away for many folks, or at least we're right on the cusp of harvest across much of the Corn Belt. But I know a lot of farmers, it's not too early to think about next year's crop as well. And looking at the nutrients that are in your fields or going to be left in your fields as we go into the winter months and get ready for next spring, let's talk about scouting for nutrient deficiencies here as we get into harvest season. Joining us, he is crop nutrition lead for the Mosaic Company. Roland Leatherwood is with us here. Roland, it is good to talk with you again, sir. How are you?
It's good to be with you, Jesse, and good to be back here again. Doing well.
Well, we appreciate the time. This is an interesting topic to think about. I know a lot of producers, of course, they are in the throes of harvest mindset. They're ready to get this year's crop off the field and more, but thinking about setting themselves up for success in 2026, they got to do some thinking and some scouting when it comes to nutrients and potential nutrient deficiencies in their fields, don't they, Roland?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So one of the things you want to do when you're scouting later in the season is look for those nutrient deficiencies, particularly in crops like corn. You'll often see that as yellowing or browning on the lower leaves. For nitrogen, you'll get that V-shaped pattern from the tip down to the midrib forming up. And for potassium, it'll be yellowing or browning around the edges. And those come from the outer towards the inner leaves. And these symptoms occur because those mobile nutrients like nitrogen and potassium are translocated from the older leaves into that grain that's filling. So it's something you will notice later in the season. But one thing you also want to do is look for soybean in particular, is look at those late flowering points on soybean and see how well the pods, those last pods, are filling out and developing. That can be a good indicator of, has your nutrition program provided late season nutrients such as phosphorus, sulfur, or even boron. Those are very critical for filling those last few pods on the stalk and can help boost your yields.
Well, and to those points and a few of those tips to look for, it's important to really get out and do this scouting as you build that full nutrient plan for 2026. I think, especially as a lot of producers are looking at what inputs they're going to use and their ROI and the cost of production and more, there's a lot of tough decisions that producers, I think, need to make. And that's where getting out there and having as robust of a plan as you can heading into 2026, it's so crucial, isn't it, Roland?
Oh, absolutely. But one of the things that you're doing with this late scouting, it's something like you're grading yourself. So what you want to do is use those late season looks through the field is to assess how well did your nutrition, pesticide, and crop management plans work for this past season. If you notice, say, a particular weed is not well controlled, or there's another problem going, you can adjust your 2026 plan to address those problems. And similarly, if you notice your crop didn't handle a particular weather condition very well this season, or too hot, too dry, you can adjust for that too and plan for that in coming seasons by adjusting your nutrition program by including more sulfur or potassium, for example.
Well, and I think about this too, as you get through harvest and maybe even some soil sampling as well could factor into this late season, because
Right.
you mentioned, sulfur, for instance, and I've heard some stories, sometimes you could have one part of a field that maybe you have too much of one nutrient and you go to the other quarter of the field and it's a totally different story. You have way less of that nutrient or just enough. So you could even see differences within single fields on your operation, can't you, Roland?
Absolutely. So one of the reasons growers will or farmers will go out and do this scouting is to figure out when to harvest which field, which section of which field, that sort of thing. But you make a great point there. Another valuable tool is to see, hey, in this particular quarter of a section, looks like we have a bit of a boron problem. We had tight tassel wrap there, and we didn't see that in other parts of the field. So these are indicators that you can use to adjust your 2026 fertility program.
Well, and I wonder about this too. I know, of course, with the Mosaic Company, you guys have a lot of great products available to help with crop nutrition and resources and more. And so maybe you could talk about that a little bit as growers start thinking about their 2026 plans. Maybe if they're deficient in something in their field or whatever the case may be, you guys have some different things that can help on the crop nutrition side, right, Roland?
Sure we do. I mean, fertilizer price is the top of everybody's minds right now. And what we want to help growers, farmers do is get the best out of the dollars they spend. We call it return on fertilizer investment. That means making sure that every pound of nutrient that goes onto a field is utilized to its best potential for yield. For example, you might be thinking, a lot of growers may be thinking of cutting back on phosphorus, but something to keep in mind, doing so impacts nutrient use efficiency, particularly around nitrogen. That works very closely with sulfur. So you can't, it works very closely with phosphorus. So that early season growth may not be as robust. And the same goes for how phosphorus works with sulfur. If there's not the right ratio there, when grain filling starts, you will not see as much yield. And lastly, any nutrients that are cut back, you're eventually going to have to make those up. Future soil tests will show that you've got a deficit, and if you're targeting a particular yield, you're going to have to make up that difference at some point. So if you're not cutting back, one of the things you can do is by pairing your nutrient program with biologicals such as a biopath or a power coat, you can boost the availability of these nutrients, particularly phosphorus, and that will help your crop get more out of the phosphorus you apply. And that's return on fertilizer investment we're talking about. So these products don't really replace nutrients, but they make the fertilizers you do apply more available to the crop and boost your overall nutrient use efficiency.
Well, and I love to a stat that you guys have on the homepage at cropnutrition.com. Up to 60% of yield is dependent on crop nutrition. And I think that's important for producers to keep that in perspective, especially as we work through a growing season. You know, in some areas that rain spigot is shut off here in the last several weeks. So having as healthy of a crop as you can is really crucial, and it's going to be important to what that final yield is each season, right, Roland?
Quite true. You know, these late stages when grain filling is finishing up, if you've got the healthiest possible crop going in to those final weeks, you stand a much better chance of finishing the crop very strong if it's very healthy going in.
Anything final you would mention about late season scouting for nutrient deficiencies and more, or anything else you'd mention or reiterate from the Mosaic Company here today, Roland?
Well, I would go back to what we opened with. It's really it's grading yourself, and no matter how well you've done, it's a lot like bringing home that improved report card as a kid, and your folks will turn and say, "Hey, well, there's still a B here." Doesn't matter if you did really well. You've got to look and see how can you do it better next season. And this is that opportunity to go out and see what did I do that worked and what did I do that didn't work. And now you have a chance to look at that, make an honest assessment, and plan for the next season to do it even better.
And I know as well, I mentioned the website, cropnutrition.com. If folks have questions, they want to reach out, they want to take a look at various resources that you guys have at Mosaic. I know all of that information. You guys have a lot of stuff there on the Crop Nutrition website, don't you, Roland?
Absolutely. Cropnutrition.com is a great starting resource. There's also an area of the website called Ag College online, where there's a lot more in-depth, topic-specific information from biologicals to nutrient use efficiency to general crop nutrition. And that's a resource that's open to all growers.
Cropnutrition.com for more. With that, Roland Leatherwood, crop nutrition lead for the Mosaic Company. As always, good to have you join us here on the program. Have a great rest of the week, and we will talk to you again real soon.
Thank you, Jesse. It's been a pleasure.